Good morning. Today is Thursday, the 16th of April, and I personally have been in lockdown for about a month, as most of you have been also, and I just want to kind of try and get back to normal as far as the reporting that I have been doing in the past. So I'm going to be bringing to you a summary of the market for the month of March, and then I'll talk about how the pandemic is affecting sellers or those who want to sell and buyers. So today, let's start with single-family homes, and again, this is for last month, March. These numbers, the median sale price 415,000, which is up from last month or from February rather, and about 6% and about 12.5% from this same time last year. So there is a continued increase in the median sale price. A number of units sold, 502 in March, up about 10% from both February and the same time last year. Days to contract, that is the days that it takes from a house being put on the market until you get an accepted offer, is about 38 days, which is a decrease, which is good news for sellers, of about a little over 28% from the same time last year. Sale prices per square foot about $229. New listings in March 627, which is up just a little bit from the same time last year, but up about 20%. So it would appear that that normal spring upswing in listings is taking place, but I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later. The percent of asking price that a seller is receiving is about almost 100%. So they're getting almost everything that they're asking for. And again, this is for single family homes. Now let's talk a little bit about condominiums. Condos and townhomes in the cities of Reno and Sparks, median sale price 240,000, a little over 240,000, which is down about 3% from February and about 3% from the same time last year. Number of units sold, 99 units, which is up from February, but down about 15% from the same time last year. Days to contract, 40 days, which is good news for sellers, meaning that the time on the market has been reduced by about 27% from the same time last year. Per square foot sale price about $223 per square foot, and again, that's for condos and single family homes. That's a summary of the market numbers. Let's talk a little bit about how the pandemic is affecting both sellers and buyers. I've got some notes here. Obviously, sellers, if you're thinking of selling or you have your house on the market, you're obviously going to need to rethink some things. Short-term outlook isn't good. In fact, in talking to one of my favorite lenders, they were talking that this fall is the new spring. So typically when we have a spring hot selling season, that's not going to happen until probably this fall. And then there's a big question mark after that. Good news, you're going to see fewer houses on the market. And that is good news because you have less competition. The bad news, you're going to see fewer buyers. The buyers or fallout was low in this past month, which is, but there are still buyers out there looking for a deal. If you have to sell your house, you're going to need to maximize use of technology or have your agent maximize use of technology, and that it would include 3D virtual tours. To give you an example of how that's impacting the state of Nevada, the governor enacted some laws recently regarding the sale of real estate. Number one, the good news is that they define realtors as being an essential business, so we're still out there active. buying and selling homes. Um, they have prohibited open houses, so we can no longer have the standard typical open house. So that's why you have to maximize the use of technology and doing 3D virtual online tours. And then also, even though we're prevented from having open houses, the governor also uh, made the showing of any uh, residential property occupied by tenants um, ineligible. We cannot show or even ask a tenant to show a property. So if you have a single family house, for example, that's rented, the potential buyer can access that house. The best we can do is we can ask the tenant to use either a virtual camera or their phone to take a virtual tour, and we'll show that to a prospective buyer. So that's a real downside. And especially if you're, for example, if you're selling a multifamily property, let's say you got a duplex, a triplex, and it's fully tenant occupied, we cannot access those units. So it's going to be a real challenge, and the next couple of months is going to show if what impact this is really going to have. And to give you an example of what we have to do as realtors, the governor came out with a um, list of rules that we need to follow when accessing homes. For example, we have to have all parties wash hands before and after entering the house. We have to ask buyers to avoid touching anything in the house, canceling showings, obviously, if buyers or sellers are sick. We have to go ahead of the buyer and open all doors to minimize the need for buyers to touch door handles. We have to turn on all lights before and then turn them off after we leave to avoid touching light switches. And then we have to disinfect all door handles and high touch areas prior to and after showings. And we have to ask that all parties stand 6 feet away from each other during showings. So you see, there's some really tough rules that we have to make sure that we follow. But obviously, it's for the good of all. Now let's talk a little bit towards buyers. Interest rates right now are very low, and let me give you an example of where they're at right now. If I can get over here to this chart, as of last week, average mortgage interest rate on a 30-year mortgage running about 3.33%. This was only lower back in March 5th, the week of March 5, when it was 3.29%. So again, interest rates are very low. Great time to get a low interest, affordable mortgage. The bad news is that the loan process, number one, is taking longer, and lenders are more diligent to view and review credit of prospective buyers. And also, the lenders are contacting employers the day before closing to make sure that the borrower has a good chance of maintaining their employment. So it's becoming very, very challenging for buyers. Again, taking a little bit longer. And this is another example of that, is that a lot of paperwork for closings and loan mortgages are being handled via mail or email as opposed to a face-to-face meeting. And then some appraisers are even doing drive-by visits and appraisals. So these things put a time um, add time to an escrow. And again, when we were seeing 30, 45-day escrows, we're now looking at 45 to 60-day escrows. Hopefully this information is helpful. If you have any questions or you need to reach me, feel free to give me a call or email me. As always, my contact is at the bottom of this email. Thank you, and I hope you all stay safe and healthy. Have a great day.